Hey guys, it's been a pretty busy last few weeks. I had my birthday and went on a couple of little day trips with some friends, so this week's video is a little late, obviously, a couple weeks late, but this week's video is going to be about learning how to draw heads, or at least how I draw them. So why drawing heads? Recently on Instagram there has been this I guess explosion maybe of the 100 heads challenge, and it's drawing 100 heads in 10 days, so 10 heads a day. I attempted this challenge. I attempted it at a pretty rough time. I was getting new jobs and starting to train, and my birthday was coming up, and all these different things were happening, so I really only got to about day 4, but I did see marked improvement already. But let me just break down how I go about drawing heads now that you can start to see what's happening on screen. So first off, I always draw a circle. Even if the head shape is not going to be a circle, it just is a place for me to anchor onto the page where this head's going to end up. And then my second line is always where the chin goes. And you can do a lot of different things with this line. This head that I was drawing, this girl had a pretty flat, like the way her angle was of her head, a pretty flat jawline and a sharp kind of chin, but a very round head. So especially when drawing from reference, follow the lines that you see, I guess. Draw what you see in relation to other things. So knowing basic proportions of the head, the eyes are usually about an eye apart. The bottom of the ear lines up with the bottom of the nose. The top of the ear lines up with your eyebrows. That's kind of where I anchor everything. So I'll draw the head, the jawline, usually the neck placement, and with portraits, usually like a bust kind of, so the chest and shoulders. And then I'll do the ear, and from there, that's where I'll place the features of the face. So starting with the nose, because you can anchor that to the ear. The nose, they're kind of hard. They're hard to work with and hard to learn how to draw. My basic idea is I draw the, I guess the middle part of the nose and try to mimic the shapes that I see. So some people have a very thin nose, some people have a very larger nose, some people have flat noses, pointy noses. If I'm having particular trouble with rendering a nose, I will draw a circle that's kind of the bulb of the nose and work as a 3D shape from there. And then next, I'll usually draw the eyebrows just so I can anchor the eyes somewhere. The eyebrows kind of lead into the bridge of the nose, so that helps you to solidify the whole facial proportions. Eyes following, they're not just ovals, they're like tapered ovals. And they have very specific points, almost kind of like trapezoidal, but round. They're very interesting, and everybody kind of has different ones. Some people have much rounder eyes, some people have much narrower eyes, some people have epicanthal folds or things like that. And I can't really get super in depth with how to draw those. That's something that you learn as you go and learn to experiment with eye shape and eyelashes and all of that stuff. Lips are kind of more, I guess the word I use is gummy worms. That's kind of how I think of it. They have 3 basic parts. They have that middle part of your lip, which is usually the roundest, and then there are 2 edges, which you can break down into all different ways. I didn't do a good job at first of rendering this girl's lips, but I was just kind of getting the basic form down and then adding glasses. And I'm not a master at putting glasses or accessories on people's faces. I really relied on photo reference for this. Not taking credit of this face as mine, not trying to sell this face. Once again, photo reference stuff is kind of iffy. Use it for practice mostly, unless you're integrating numerous references into one picture. Like, I will never sell this portrait because that's somebody else's work. Back to the lips. So I didn't do a great job of rendering her lips at first, but I was just getting the basic shape down, and then I returned to it and tighten up the rest of the lines of the face to kind of darken everything up. You can see here where I decided to work on the lips. And now that line that I just made from the pupil down to the corner, and I lengthened the line of her lips out, your pupils should line up, when they're in the middle of your eye, should line up to the edge of your mouth. That's kind of classical proportions. They don't always have to. And then both the top and bottom edge, you have to be very mindful of the lips to make them look real. Your top lip has the, I guess, peaks from your Cupid's bow under your nose. And then even in the bottom line, it can show that Cupid's peak sometimes, just like I did in this portrait. After that, I mostly rely on shading to make the lips work right. I focus on where the bottom lip joins the top lip. It's very tapered, it gets darker. Sometimes lips will tuck into one another. Examine your reference, and if something's not looking right, kind of, do a spot the difference, like old highlights magazines. Do a spot the difference, see what's wrong with it, and try to correct that. Draw lightly so that you don't have a mess. I'm just starting to learn how to draw lightly. I'm very heavy-handed. And you'll notice that I'm working in graphite on this tone tan, and I'm not a graphite person. But I decided to do these portraits in graphite just so I didn't treat them as so precious, because I don't, not that I don't view other people's graphite work as like not valuable. People do some amazing work in graphite. My own art personally with graphite, I don't think it's that great. I don't like the look of it too much. But these portraits helped me to, one, get back in touch with the medium, and two, just allowed me to not be afraid of messing up a drawing, just because I'm not intimidated by the medium, and I'm not precious about it. And here's just darkening up the lines, starting on the hair, fixing little things here and there. Shading, when doing at least realism portraits, shading helps immensely. So you can see kind of the reference picture that I'm using. It was from Pinterest. I add the shadow from her glasses, and eventually I start to add the planes of her face, the shading under the neck, the shading on her lower arm. It just starts to give 3D form to your very 2D drawing. And even the most rudimentary shading, I don't do very realistic drawings. I have been having kind of a realism kick lately, but I don't do realism a lot. I don't do shading in a lot of my illustrative work. I do very kind of block shading, and even that can make a world of difference in your drawings. It also creates contrast. It helps lead your eye where it needs to go. It helps bring your drawing from looking like just a sketch into a more finished piece. Shading is a very hard skill to learn. I'm no expert in it. I'm no expert in any of this. This is just kind of to show you guys how I draw faces, how I approach faces, and a couple of things that I've learned about drawing faces. Once again, I think I mentioned this in my paintings. A lot of times your drawings will look very scary and very ugly at first, and then all of a sudden something just clicks and makes it look so much better. And maybe it's something that you have to change, maybe it's something that you have to tweak, maybe it's just as simple as darkening the lines. Like her eye that I am working on, it was kind of wonky, not gonna lie. And then I reworked it a little bit and made it better. I'm not gonna say I made it perfect, but I made it look better and more intense. And darken the lines and maybe replaced where her eyelid was, or fix the proportion of where her glasses were to where her eye is in the photo. I feel like a lot of times young artists, they'll say, oh, there's glasses there, let me just put glasses on, and they don't really see where the lenses go. They don't really see where the frames end up. At first, I think I drew the glasses way too high up on her nose, and I end up having to extend the the left lens, the left frame down a bit more because it just wasn't working. It just didn't look right. Little line for the chin to make the chin seem 3D, and because her lips do cause a little shadow eventually. And then I don't do anything special for coloring the hair for these portraits, at least during this challenge I didn't. I just kind of just shaded it in just because she had darker hair. I think I end up going back and making it darker and fixing it a little bit. I do some smudging to make it not seem so, but I didn't focus on, texturing her hair and things like that. I just kind of wanted to try and focus on getting the expression down, getting the face shape right, getting the proportions right. And then I believe this is me fixing where her lips join together at the edge of her mouth. There's sometimes a little, kind of a little teardrop where your lips meet together. If you feel your own mouth, you can obviously tell that your mouth is round. And when you squish that together, there's a little teardrop. I guess maybe if you have a lid to something, like a lid that you can bend, like a sour cream lid or something. I don't know, this is getting weird. But anyways, if you find a circle that you can flatten or fold in half, you can see on the edges how it has, the curve of the fold, and that's that little teardrop in your mouth. As I was saying before, here's kind of my block shading. I worked in a couple of tones. Since this was tone tan paper, I usually use the tone tan instead of as the mid-tone, as the highlights most of the time. And I'll work in different colors of shading if I don't have something white. Sometimes the effect of white on tan tone is just amazing. But I didn't want to get that super detailed with these portraits. So most of the time I just did areas of shading and used the tone tan as the highlight. But as you can see, I just kind of do a block shade. I don't go super in depth. I've just tried to define the 3D shapes of the portrait. When working with a reference, look at every single square inch, square centimeter, whatever size your reference is. Look at every little detail on it and ask yourself, especially, I guess if you're doing hyperrealism, render every single one of those details. But if you're doing just basic realism or stylizing, ask yourselves which details are super necessary to render to make this look the way I want it to look. Which details are needed to understand what this thing is. And yeah, I guess that's all I have to say really about drawing heads and drawing realism in general. I really liked this portrait. I really liked this challenge. I am going to attempt it again just because I found it really fruitful and really helpful for my art. And to kind of get that realism bug out and about and practicing drawing real anatomy again. So I will finish up this drawing and see you at the end. this is what I managed to draw for you guys today. If you have any more questions about drawing heads, maybe I'll make another video. Comment down below. I would love to answer more questions or just see if you guys have any tips. If you like this video and would like to see more from me and more of my stuff, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. You can check me out on Instagram at Gottagoghdraw. And for now, I will see you guys later. Bye for now, guys.